Hi, my name's Lauren Golden. I'm a senior and I'm double majoring with special education and psychology. In terms of intersectionality, I would say that I'm extremely privileged, seeing as I'm like white, straight, I'm in the upper middle class, I've had a high school education, I'm pursuing a college education, so that gives me a step up. I like kind of check all like the privileged boxes, if that really makes sense. And like one of just my underprivileged is that I'm a woman, but that's like half the population. I think that feminism is really good, and it's like everyone should really be a feminist because due to all the different types of feminism and a bunch of different types of feminists, like women in the world or in America and countries similar to America, they now have a lot more privilege. And the video, the TED Talk, and some of the articles that we read really show how much feminism has done for like America and the women in America as a whole. Seeing that like in the past, a lot of women, unless they were poor, didn't have the option to work, and poor women working, it wasn't seen as something empowering, it was seen as something kind of sad. So in the article, it really talked about how now that women do work and now are able to work, there's now the problem with like women are still supposed to be home like workers. Like they're supposed to be in the house and they're supposed to create a nice environment in the house, but they're also now able to work, and it's difficult for women to kind of balance that because men aren't expected to do all the housework chores that a woman's do while doing work. So it's hard to get a balance of that, and then a lot of people I don't think still understand how hard it is because some people see like housework and stuff like that is not a job, even though if you talk to like any woman who is a stay-at-home mom, they say that like taking care of children in the house, it is a job. So I think talking about the two ways of like how to get people to understand that women should have like the option to do both and it shouldn't be extremely stressful is good. But I think the two different ways is also good because you can like see how different feminist perspectives like change the way people do things. But I also see how like the pinning of the two women against each other shows how women are kind of treated too. Is like the media took these two women who were trying to do the same thing and like instantly just pit them against each other, which is something that a lot of feminists are trying to stop. And I think the article was also trying to bring light to the fact that like we shouldn't pit these two women up against each other because they have different views on how a woman should go about empowering herself, which I think is really good. And then I think the TED Talk did a great job about bringing to light how feminism could be used in other countries and even in some issues that happen in America. One of the issues that the speaker of the TED Talk talked about was the fact that like girls are told to cover up, and it's like seen as scandalous and bad if they're wearing like tank tops and shorts. And I think that's a problem here too. Is I never really saw it, seeing as I went to a Catholic school and like I wore a uniform. But I have friends who went to public school and friends here who went to public school, and they've talked about the dress code. I've seen online a lot talks about dress code where it's girls are expected to cover up and be the mature one, and like they're supposed to cover up so that boys in their class pay attention and the boys learn. But then the girls learning is always not thought about because they get sent out of class or they have to go home or they have to wear like uncomfortable clothing. But it's never a thought of like, oh, well, she's wearing something that makes her comfortable, maybe we should tell the boys that it's not the girls' responsibility, it's the boys' responsibility to pay attention in class. Because there comes a time where they're going to be in the workforce, and they can't just blame it on being a man, being like, well, I didn't get my work done because I was distracted. But a lot of girls are taught that they need to cover up and they need to wear the right thing so that it doesn't hurt them, or so that a man doesn't hurt them. And then it's brought up that, like, oh, what was she wearing when something happens to a woman? It's very focused on, like, women covering up and not showing anything and making sure that they know that if something happens, it's going to be their fault because of what they were wearing. So I think the TED Talk speaker did a great job about talking about that and talking about how women are held to different standards than men, even though they are the same, like they should be held to the same standard.